Hi, my name is Kiran Dhanuta and I'm a financial security advisor from Dil, Montreal. So today, my guest is Humera Khan. She is an immigration consultant working with the law firm. She is a businesswoman, mother of 3 kids, and she is a very, very successful entrepreneur in her own because they own a 30 years family business. So welcome, Humera ji.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself to the audience.
I am at this stage level 3 immigration consultant, owner of Stanford Immigration, where we provide all sorts of immigration services, otherwise other legal services as well. And apart from that, I also have another company called Logic Academic Services, where we provide students international student education in Canada, US, all over the world. Canadian students, if they want to go abroad and study, or students in Canada services as well through that. And as well as we bring in international students from all over the world to study here. Those are the two businesses I'm running right now. And apart from that, you said it all. Mother of 3 kids, it is. I'm into all there, into being a today's modern woman, where we juggle the family, the business, the everything. So that's what it is.
I still remember the day we met at the cafe.
Yes.
With another friend.
Three like-minded.
Yes.
We just struck the chord, and then that's it. There's no coming back.
And we know each other since then.
Yes, absolutely. And we have always maintained our relationship.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, Humera ji, my question to you is that why immigration? Like, why you choose this path?
Well, I'm a perfect example of all those young women who get married young and start a family, which is great. I think
in which age you got married?
Yeah, so I got married very young, and I had a young family at a young age, and then fortunately for us, we had a family business. So we continued that pathway.
Okay.
But inside of me, as I was, when you ask what you want to be to a young person, I always wanted to contribute myself into legal services in the spectrum of the legislative or judicial services, and that was it. And you come in a life where you have everything, you achieve everything, and you go back and you think, what is missing? And then it's like, this is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And it just happened so naturally because I do help. In my introduction, I forgot to tell you that I also do a lot of community work. I am also president of a 24 years old charity called Amal Center, Amal Women's Center.
Okay.
So we help underprivileged women.
It's based in Montreal.
It's based in Montreal. It's based in Montreal. So through that, prior to that, we also, me and one of my close friend, we initiated a nonprofit organization called South Asian Women Association of Canada.
I heard about that.
Right. So we did that, and at that time we were really helping women empower.
I think I did volunteer once.
Yes.
A few years back.
Yes,
I did.
Yes. So that was so going through the community services, helping the community at the volunteering, and then empowering, and then people who are in their lives at the vulnerable, and then helping them out. It's just that really led me to the immigration.
Okay.
The biggest part came in when all these students who were coming in with false promises and illusion, and then when they come here disheartening, and then not meeting the expectations that they had, and then especially their parents, into the educational pathways, we started helping one at a time. That really led me to think, why don't we just set up something that we can help the students in a proper way? And that's when we, myself, another lawyer, he's another lawyer, and so we initiated a company called Logic Academic Services that still exists. We bring in students, and we also give in Canada services for that company. And then, as my passion for law and immigration grew, and I was really doing what I needed to do to help at the grassroots level, that really gave me a lot of experience, and know-hows and experience. Then I said, why don't we just go ahead a little step further? The whole world came to a halt in pandemic.
Yes.
timing for me. So online
You
schooling.
did.
So I
I
just
remember
went back.
when we spoke, you were so busy
Yes, I had
with
those
your
pockets of
classes.
hibernation
Yes,
and
yes.
studying and then passing,
Stressed.
and so did that. There's no looking back. After that, I founded Standard Immigration, and then where we focus on a lot of different all platforms of immigration services. We primarily focus on business applications, as well as different kind of catering to businesses in Canada
Okay.
as well, and refugee cases, and our basic work is the study permits and work permits are there anyway. So it covers all kinds of immigration streams, and that's what we do.
That's amazing. I'm sure it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
As a mother,
Yeah, but if you
wife.
have the passion for it,
Exactly.
it doesn't come as a
Yes.
pain to you. It comes as like you're happy to do it and you don't feel it. So every day is a big challenge for
Big
me. It gives you the
challenge.
butterflies in your
Yes.
stomach to get up and then go out there and
Go
make
out
it
there,
happen.
make it
And
happen. It's not always just about money.
no, it's
It's
not.
about passion,
For me,
as you
it's from
said.
passion. It is passion for me.
Yeah.
Without passion, you cannot have that. You cannot do it.
That's true. So tell me, as a mother, you're a mother of 3
Yes.
wonderful children, and they're young now.
Grown
They're
men.
grown up, grown men now. Yeah, of course, they're helping you too.
Absolutely. So I try to keep my kids engaged into my business as well. So time to time, two of my children, they come and help out as well, along
Good.
with my staff that I have. So try to keep them engaged, just closer to me, because I spend a lot of hours in my business. So that way I can spend some time with them too.
So how do you manage all that, like house, business, and plus you said you're part of this organization,
Yeah.
plus the charity, all the meetings.
It's so hard to strike a balance. It is so hard to strike a balance, but every time, every day is a challenge. Sometimes you win some, you lose some. And that's how it is with me.
Okay.
Back in the day, I used to socialize a lot. I had to cut down on a lot of my socializing. I had to be really selective of which events I can go to, where I can participate, where I can't participate. But then at the end of the day, you just should know where your goal is, and helping out in the community, that is always will be there and has always been there for me. That is never going to change. So I allocate portion of my time in doing that.
Okay.
Along with that, there has to be personal growth, and there has to be, so with this new firm, there's a meeting new people, and that socializing cut down really replaces with meeting all these new wonderful people. At times they're vulnerable, at times they are they want to come and establish a new life here. So I meet highs and lows. You have these
For sure.
business entrepreneurs who wants to come to Canada, establish their business and grow their business in Canada. That is a completely different breed.
Yes.
Then you have these people who are vulnerable, have been affected of world, what's going on around the world, and then you help them, and that really makes you feel good of helping them, holding their hand and taking them to next steps. So it is absolutely a pleasure for me to work in this industry, and gives me absolutely joy. That joy, answering your question, makes you manage everything.
Okay. We will jump into immigration after, but before that, I would like to know, how active are you on social media? Is it helping, first of all?
Yeah, actually, I was not. I took a break from social media while I was busy and, in the inception of these businesses and really catering to these businesses. So, no, I was not as active. And had I been active, it would have really helped me. So now trying to get into that game, and let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you and me, we both working with one person,
Yes,
Akhil,
yes.
and he's helping us doing all this.
Absolutely. He's doing a wonderful job.
Yeah. So, but do you think, like in today's world, social media is very helpful for businesses?
Absolutely. There was one blogger that she came and did few of my interviews. Oh my gosh, they went so viral. I was getting thousands of messages, and so I did see the power at that time of social media. It is absolutely works definitely.
All right. So, since we all know your expertise in refugee claimant, now can you please elaborate the basics of refugee claimant?
Yeah. So the whole purpose of the refugee claimant status that is Canada and many other countries have adopted with UNHCR, is to really provide asylum to people who are in need, and who are facing persecution in their country, in their home country, and they don't have a safe place to live in their home countries where they're born or citizen of, and their rights are being deprived, and at times, many times, their lives are at risk. So the whole notion is to really provide them a window to seek and save their life and come here and make a better future, better life. That's the whole idea. Many other countries, along with Canada, has taken part in that, and Canada is, I must say, at the forefront of it. So it is an amazing the program they have, that they're availing to people who are in need, vulnerable people around the world who can avail themselves and seek the refugee protection. So going back to now, how does it work? So there is two ways of claiming refugees, actually three ways of claiming refugees. For people who are in the war zones, so they can attain a UNHCR number, and through that there is groups of sponsorships, IRCC and then IRB, they introduce from time to time. The IRCC introduces those programs, sponsorship programs, where people in Canada, they sponsors the refugees for such as like people affected in Afghanistan, Ukraine, and all of these affected war zone countries. They seek this number, and then the people in Canada sponsors them, and they come here, they establish themselves. The undertaking is usually for 1 year. They provide for them 1 year to establish themselves, and then they move on their life. So that's one way for the people who are really living in refugee camps, who have been affected by the wars, and the whole country is like, at war. So for those ones. The second way is the people who have personalized persecution, as per se, and they could be from any country, and they can come to Canada. And coming to Canada is a lot of challenge. They face a lot of challenges. We'll come to it later. But so they come to Canada. At the border, they claim refugee when they arrive, whether it be a port of entry, like the land border, or at the airport, or sea, anywhere they can claim refugee. They can seek asylum. So that is the second way of doing that. And the third way is if you are in the country, and then you want to put out there a refugee claim, and then back in the day before COVID, you would go to a service center and do it, but now everything's happening online, so you would submit your claim online. That's the third way of doing that. So those are the three ways of doing the refugee claim, and often the one that is sponsorship is altogether another thing that we discussed, but the people who arrive at the port of entry, that's the most successful way of doing it. But the people inland Canada, there are many challenges. Yeah.
What is the problem people are facing in Canada regarding refugee claimant?
Well, the thing is, people have a misconception of the refugee. Like I explained to you, that the whole program exists to really help those vulnerable people who are suffering, are being persecuted, their rights are being denied in their home country. That's the whole notion of the program. But now, people who are in Canada right now, because IRCC are going through a lot of changes, and then they're being very selective of offering permanent residency to the most competent people. In that selection, there's a lot of huge people, temporary residents who are in Canada. They don't fall into that criteria. So their easy way out, their thinking is that let's claim refugee to remain in Canada and attain permanent residency. But that's not the right way of doing that.
That's not right.
The program is not designed to help those people. There are many other things that they can do. They can do to...
Do you think people are not aware of that?
People are not aware of that. There's many things that they can do within Canada to attain permanent residency. Claiming refugee is not one of them. So by doing that, you're really isolating, and then you're really setting up yourself for a pathway. When you fail, then you have no hope in Canada.
No hope in Canada.
Yes.
But that's true. What is your one successful story in refugee
claim? Yeah, so I can, there's many. So to say, up until now, I had 100% success rate. So I'm very proud of that. And but there's many people that have helped, and one I can relate to. A person came in, and he was very vulnerable, and then he was going through a lot of mental challenges
Okay.
because of due to his the persecution that he has faced, and it was really challenging for him. I remember in the hearing, we had prepped in the hearing prior to that, and he was like perfectly fine. And this was an online hearing. As soon as the hearing happened, and then the judge, who's called member, is asking questions, he froze. He just froze. He will not do anything. He will just like not say anything, and so I was like really under a lot
Sure.
of stress, and then
Yes,
there's so much you can
anxiety.
help, there's so much you can do,
Uh-huh.
but the person have to really narrate their story and what happened to them, and it has to come from them. And luckily we had a very nice member, and with my facilitation, and then helping him get through that trial, and at the end of the day, that trial, the member had given a decision in the hearing saying that welcome to
Oh,
Canada.
wow.
So
That's
that
amazing.
for me, sitting there imagining when the hearing was going, I'm like, what happened here? What would happen to this person? And he was really in a genuine need of like this status, because he could not go back to his home country. He was really persecuted. That's why those thoughts were like
What if? What
yeah,
if?
what
Right?
if, what if, and he
Yeah.
was, that's why he froze. So him getting the permanent residency was one of the best thing that I could
So
say.
you're feeling good by changing lives
Absolutely,
when they come to
absolutely.
Canada.
And I remember right after the hearing, he just broke down and cried, and I'm like, okay, that's the feeling that nothing else can give you that feeling, when you see people, you're helping them,
Yes.
you're holding hands, and then you're elevating their status and in life, and
It's
giving
like
them
their
hope.
entire world changed.
Changes, yes, absolutely.
Everything changes for them.
Absolutely. And them for their family too. For the
course.
family too, because he was a family man, and so for his family too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Humera ji, so we are living in this country for a long time now.
Yes.
So what have you seen post pandemic and pre-pandemic in immigration?
Well, pre-pandemic, the immigrations Canada seemed very inviting, and it was inviting.
It was,
It
yeah.
was inviting, and then there was programs were really designed for people to arrive in Canada and attain their education if you're coming on an educational pathway or work pathways, and then attain the permanent residency. And this has been a lot of people's dreams, and the dreams were being fulfilled. So the message was going back home to wherever they came from, as how they arrived in Canada, how they were welcomed, and they attained permanent residency. So that was the whole notion at that time, which during the pandemic, the whole world came to a standstill. A lot of people had financial struggles, and they were looking for a better future in their lives. So Canada was one of the promising things that people wanted to come to. So you have these influx of people who want to arrive at Canada, but then that's when Canada started to implement all of these changes. So they really raised the bar high, and they wanted to be now selective and have only invite individuals who are highly qualified and can add to certain streams, which are like in jobs in demands and so forth. So that became very challenging for people to attain permanent residency.
Yes.
So I would say the major difference was that the pre-pandemic, the things were very easy. Come into the country, and I remember at that time that people were coming into Quebec. Quebec was the most promising province at that time,
Yes.
pre-pandemic, and they were coming in doing these vocational training programs, which I really highly still
You
till
offer
today
that?
I recommend that, and that is the only apart from master's program, vocational training program still gives you the post graduation work permit.
Okay.
Still till today, we don't know how it's going to.
For how many years did they?
For 3 years. If
For
you
3
study for
years.
2 years, you get 3 years work permit to work in Canada. So those pathways were like really attractive for people who didn't have high education, or didn't have
Yes.
the he didn't inspire to really invest in themselves into studying, and people of all ages too, because it was not only the people in the certain 18 to 25, 30, whatever, to really do your master's, bachelor's, and so forth. No, this is people of all ages can come into Canada and then go into the educational pathway. They finish the program, they get 3 years post-graduation work permit, they work about 6 months into it, you become eligible to apply for PR. Boom, you get a PR. So that was like an
That's how
amazing
easy
program.
it was.
Then pandemic hit. I remember clearly, I think it was right before pandemic. They started to have more rigorous language laws and all of that, and it became unattractive. So the Quebec Experience program, they raised the bar high from 6 months to 12 months, then 18 months, and so forth. This is talking about Quebec, but overall, this country had same changes in the federal level too, same changes. So gradually, I think the Quebec came in very progressively in a short period of time, whereas throughout Canada, it came in gradually, and then it's really up the bar. Now we're 2023 and 2024. Oh my gosh, we have seen so many changes. First, the biggest change for people to come as in the study pathways were when the fees was from GIC amount was from 10,000 to 20,365. Right away, just doubled like that. So that really threw off a lot of people.
Yes.
And then now till today, there's news coming in, and they're raising the bar. And now the language proficiency bar has been raised. So they're raising the bar for people to even arrive in Canada, and moreover for people who are in Canada to attain the permanent residency. Yeah. So that, having said that, Kiran, so there's two effects to it. So having said that, once you have promised something to people and they invested themselves, whether it be through the work pathways or for educational pathways, they invested themselves and now they want to attain permanent residency. Midway, the bar has been raised. So they don't see any other options, and they adopt, these illegit ways of attaining permanent residency. So they're seeking for refugee claims, false refugee claims. And that's why you have so much spike in refugee claims now. So this is the system which is forcing people to do it.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. They promise one thing, but then it's something else, and then they just keep changing the laws.
Yeah, they keep changing the laws, and they keep changing the laws because before pre-pandemic, like people arrived, and then it really helped the people, help the economy as well, especially for the low wage positions. So if you look at the stats pre-pandemic, where the low wage employment rate was very high, unemployment rate was very high, and then there was too many vacancies where people weren't working, and then when these new temporary residents came in, they really filled those positions, they filled the jobs and all of that, and the business were booming, and many places were open for 24 hours. We've seen so many Tim Hortons being open for 24 hours.
I was coming to that. So speaking of that, I went to Toronto, and before pandemic, when we go on en route, there are so many en routes, right? Canadian Tire en routes. And when we go there, used to be like all kind of nation people work, and you will see random, Indians. I'm Indian, so we will talk about that. We will see random students working there. But if you go now, you can literally give your order in Punjabi.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody does not speak English, it's easy for them to order a coffee or order a sandwich. It's not just Tim Hortons, like A&W, whatever services.
Fast food restaurants and gas stations and so forth.
All immigrants. It's all immigrants. Especially Indian people.
Yes, that has been adding. And then, so those industry has been thriving because they can offer longer hours, because there's many competitive people are there to hire and then run their businesses. But the flip side of it, what happened was, this is where the government got triggered, is that it increased because these people came and settled in these urban hubs, which is Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, all these hubs. And so it created a lot of problems for the housing problems. So now they're trying to get back to the housing problems, and it really raised the bar high for the housing, especially for the Canadians and young generation. Now today's the Canadians who are born in Canada, it's very hard for them to buy a house, whereas you and I, it was just natural flow of saving some money, putting down payment, buying a house.
That's true.
Nowadays the interest rates are so high and everything is going so up, and there's no houses available.
No, so and now they're instead of making housing, they are making like the buildings.
Yeah.
So do you believe that the economical impact is
See,
huge.
the government has to really foresee the entire pathway and foresee the future, how it's going to impact. Yes, it did solve the problem for the temporary low-wage workers, and the business were thriving. At the same time, we were talking about the housing crisis, the healthcare crisis, that, all of the crisis started to happen. They started to panic. Now, who's paying the price here? Those people who have been falsely promised Canada, been sold Canada basically. They have been sold Canada. Canada is this promising country. You can go there and you can make your life
better,
easy. So they came here in those hopes. So that is the message, mixed message nowadays. There's a mixed message out there in the world of Canada, because when you arrive here, you used to see all these podcasts and all these videos of Canada, how promising it is, how it's easy, welcoming. Now you see a lot of videos of how hard it is in Canada to make two ends meet and how to survive, and all these stories that's going back home as well.
Yeah, my next question was, have you heard about your client or around your family reverse migration have happened?
Yeah, so people who are really settled and then they cannot take up all of these challenges, they are considering. And it's like we're in downtown Montreal, right? So we have surrounded by a lot of people. Yeah. And so not only Indian, but there's a lot of, Montreal is a hub for Arab community, mixed culture. So I do, because being here, I do see a lot of people who tend to stay in Montreal and downtown are slightly well off, and then especially this part of the town. So when I speak to the people here, my clients or non-clients or whatever, people who are here in Canada on a temporary basis, they are truly here on a temporary basis. Let's say we're going to attain education, especially here, this is very close to McGill. So I'm going to get my education in McGill. I'm getting out of here. I don't want to remain here. Because so there are people are talking like that as well. And whereas people before pandemic, and they wanted to live here, it's becoming harder and harder every.
So Humera ji, with all the changes, what is happening in immigration Canada, so tell me, what are the options and what are the services that you offer to the international students, anybody who is on work permit here, and visitors?
Yeah, so it's really important at this stage because of all the changes that are happening. I think one should really rely on the experts like us, whether it be our firm or anybody else who are equally competent and expert in the industry. Because of the changes, they should really seek services, especially the initial consultation, to really study their profile and offer those custom tailor services for them. For instance, the students who have studied here in Canada, and if they want to remain longer, there's so many programs now that does not offer the PGWP, but there are other schools they can switch into, which will come to a halt at some point. So if they have the opportunity, they can really switch into the other institutions where they can be offered the PGW, post-graduation work permits. And for people who are on the work permit right now, absolutely, because back in the day, you could go through the express entry and then attain your points, finish your 1 year or 2 years of working in Canada, and that will give you substantial amount of points for you to get invited. But now the way the points are running, it's over 500. It's very highly impossible for a lot of individuals to attain that. So once again, I would say that seek assistance of the competent people in the immigration industry, whether it be a lawyer or consultant, and they know they're up to date on all the new streams and pathways that can be available and then be adapted in your profile to really help you get the permanent residency. I'll give you example of few. So for example, the French speaking streams have been very popular. They've been getting invitation for a very low CRS course. Okay. So and in the PNP pathways too. So invest yourself to learn French, right? That's going to go a long way. That's going to increase your points in express entry. At the same time, you can avail yourself in the PNP pathways where there will be very low scores will get, will avail the invitation. So those are the one way. Have an open mind to relocate yourself anywhere in Canada. There are pockets in Canada that has many opportunities for you to attain permanent residency. So that's one way I would say people who are already in the country. And again, come to see consultants or lawyers who can really know your case and then give you, if you have to even go back out to, there are some times we might suggest step out for a year and then come back in again if you want to get really that relevant experience to add to your profile, right? So that could better your profile in Express Entry. That could be very one positive way of doing that too. So again, it's really custom tailored to individual's profile.
need
The
of
need.
the
You cannot see what I see the tendency in our industry is that one person comes in, seeks the services, and they take the paintbrush and they try to apply that to another person. It never works like that. Everyone's profile is different. Right? Their criteria is different. They might have something different to offer, and you can really work towards that. So that's what it is. And
for the visitors.
for the visitor, yeah. Now in the pandemic, because people could not go back, so the visitors they had really great opportunity to convert their visitor visa status into a work permit. So a lot of people took advantage of that, did so, but a lot of people exploit that as well, especially employers in Canada, where they were selling LMIAs for enormous amount of money, and that came to an end when there was an announcement that you cannot convert your visitor visa into a work permit.
Okay.
So, but luckily for people, I have been working on this for a long time, pre-pandemic, and for a long time. We have pathways where if you are in Canada, not a work permit, we can get you a study permit, regardless of your age, your educational background, and your experiences.
So they have this option.
Yes, absolutely. We have this remedy for our clients when they come and see us.
I like the word remedy in immigration.
It is a remedy because they have a problem, so we have a remedy for them. And then this has been 100% successful remedy for my clients, because I can tell you that there's only one rejection we had in Canada study permit application, only one. That is because the person had given us the wrong information, and we inputted that information that led to the rejection. But then we had 100% success in converting a visitor into a study permit. Not only a study permit, then they get to stay in Canada for 5 years in total. So during that 5 years, that's a long time. If you continuously seek professional services, then we can really try to help them get permanent residency.
That is amazing, actually. Humera ji, the government of Canada have reduced the study permit cap, right? They added 10% more. Yeah. How does it impacted your business?
Well, the thing is, immigration is always a free flow business, let's put it that way. You have to be informed and you have to adapt to the new changes. And that's exactly what we do. So they have reduced 30% previously. The study permit cap was reduced 30% to the previous years.
Before.
And then recently they announced that...
So they added 10%.
That 10% further reduction in the cap. Well, I'm not really... we're adapting to it. The way we're adapting to it is because that is applied to all the post-secondary institutions and then study permits. So what we have added on in our services that we offer now is that we're inviting people to arrive in Canada even further younger. So do your grade 11 and grade 12. So we have additional schools we have added to our institution list who does not require a DLI number. So that does not fall into that cap. There's no cap for this. It doesn't. There's no cap. So because the cap only applies to post-secondary institutions. So you arrive in Canada in grade 11 and grade 12, you study here, or you can start studying online in your home country.
They can do that?
Yeah, they could do that. We have schools, wonderful schools that will give you Canadian education in your home country. You start doing that and midway you can arrive into the country, finish it in here. So now you're graduating with Canadian curriculum and a Canadian secondary education. So you are just like our kids or anybody else. You can enter the university and then apply.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, and then that will be inland application.
Okay, so you are trying to say that they can arrive here when they are in high school,
They can arrive here in
which
high
is
school. Yes,
secondary school,
absolutely, absolutely.
Sec 4, Sec 5 in
Yes,
Quebec.
Sec 4 and Sec 5 Quebec, or in Ontario or anywhere else, grade 11, grade 12. And then you finish your secondary school here. So just like anything else, we adapt to the new flow of immigration needs. And that's what the government is announcing. We have no choice but to adapt to it and find a solution for people to arrive and continue their education here in Canada.
That's amazing. So, Miraji, as we are coming to the last section of our podcast, we know each other for a long time now. So, is there any specific projects you're working on, charity, anything you would like to share with the community?
Sure. With all of this, highs and lows for all the temporary people who have arrived in Canada, the newly arrived immigrants. I have seen a lot of people struggling and then facing a lot of challenges. So to really help out the people who are in the hour of need, because we don't see those challenges. You have to see the people who have arrived into Canada have really burned their bridges and then, left everything behind and came here. They really wanted to, they leave their mark in Canada and then, and thrive and then be successful in Canada.
Yes.
So they come with those hopes, and sometimes those hopes are shattered and they're not met. So I see a lot of people discouraged and then leaves a really ingrained their mental health and leaves a scar on them because they don't feel as important, as invested, or as professional as they were in their country.
True.
So in line of all of that, my family is involved in this too. So my extended family, and we are coming up with it's in the pipeline actually.
Really?
It's been created. We're working really hard on that in the pipeline that we have a project where really to newly arrived people to really upskill their professionalism and then offer especially people who are the immigrants and then attain their permanent residency. So offer programs, professional programs, so they can attain high paid jobs and then really, make their livelihood, better.
Many times I took a Uber and I see when you start speaking to the driver, like many of them, they say, oh, I was a CPA back home, I was a doctor back home, and, I was a lawyer back home. And when they arrive here, they have to...
Exactly. So how demotivating it is.
They're demotivating and they're doing Uber.
Exactly. They have gone through those orders and then they have passed and they're so successful in their home countries. They arrive here to Canada and they're, demoted to that level. So that's not fair. So that's exactly keeping that notion in mind.
Okay.
And we came up with something where we can, bring them up to the par and bring them up to the level and then enhance some sort of tools and, provide them tools to really,
let me know if you need any help in that.
Absolutely. Definitely.
It's a good project to work on.
It is. The more the merrier. The more we collaborate, the more we can help. It's a vast place and vast industry. The professions are too wide.
Yes.
So that's what we're working on. Like I said, it's a big project, well thought out project, but the way it will be executed, it's going to help a lot of individuals get to upskill their skills and
they will be happy to live in Canada.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So last but not the least, what advice you want to give it to a working woman as an entrepreneur? Because I would love to, I love doing these podcasts, especially with entrepreneurs. And my first podcast was also with a woman in the beauty industry. But what advice you have, because you're managing your kids, you're managing your husband's business, your family business, I would say, and you're doing your
own. Not so much my family business anymore. I don't have time for that.
You don't have time for that, of course.
Yeah, that I had to really
not get involved in that. But still, you were part of that, and then you jump into this immigration completely new. I remember when you jumped in. We spoke about that, and what advice you want to give to women. Sometimes I see many women we see on daily basis, they want to do a lot.
Right.
But then when they face some challenges, either with the family, husband, in-laws, they just stop. And then they keep all the emotions inside and they don't move forward.
Yes. So first and foremost advice I would say is that surround yourself with like-minded and forward-thinking people. Honestly,
True.
that really helps you. Like you said, when we met, I was at that transition period in my
Yes.
life. So I used to have these pockets of hibernation. I would not meet people, not
Yes.
go out.
I
And there were
remember
so
that.
many times you and
we spoke about
we used
that.
to make plans and then never falls through because
yes.
I'm so busy. So surround yourself with like-minded people who can understand your needs, where you are in life, and who would encourage you and make you feel good about what you're doing, because that's the key thing. And you don't want to be involved in people like who have a different pathway in their lives.
Yeah.
Right? So that is one thing I would say, so that you would retain yourself. And second thing is, have a very clear vision. You, at the end of this day, it's yourself. Live out your dream. You only live once. Live out your dream, whatever your dream is, whatever you want to be, whether you want to be a singer, a writer, or a poet, or astronaut, or in an IT,
Yes.
legal, like me, you have something. Devote a little bit of the time with that to that, so that's going to make you really feel happy. Once you become happy, everything seems like nothing. It's just because all the hurdles of managing the life balance, the family balance, when you manage that with happiness in your heart, that's so much. The pressure is so low, and the fluency is so, like, positive things are happening to you because your mindset is positive. You're thinking, you're only attracting positiveness, and you're only looking at the positive things in situations. So then that really makes it easier for you to balance your life. I would really say that. And you have to look at the situation. Sometimes you have to give a lot of time to your business if needed, but sometimes there are situations in life or family that you really need to balance that. You need to be there. So you really have to strike the balance. You have to really strike that balance, and have patience. Have a lot of patience. Have a lot of patience. That's what I learned in my life. Have a lot of patience and deal with people with patience.
Yes.
Especially your family members.
Yes.
Especially your family members. Because if you're juggling many things, there are things that you will do to trigger something. And so you just want to have a lot of patience and then deal with your family
Usually
members.
women do
Yeah.
do deal with a lot of patience, but I like the message that I like, which I got, is live your dream.
Live your dream.
Live your dreams.
There's only one you. There's only
one you.
And unique you. Because what you have to offer, nobody else has to offer.
Yes,
so,
I made a video on that.
Yeah.
There's only one you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Anyways, I would
on
like
that note, so that's why I'm so happy to be surrounded by you. Always uplifting me, and I try to uplift you as much as I can. And we have such a mutual friendship, and if you don't speak for gaps, doesn't really matter. We pick up the phone and we speak.
Exactly. And we always talk about business growth,
everything.
Next level.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. We are so proud of you, Humera.
Thank you. Likewise, so proud of you as well.
Yes, in Montreal.
For your transformation.
Thank you so much. I try my best, but Montreal is so proud of your hard work and what you're giving to people, to the community, doing all this extra work, and the new project you're coming up, and we should do podcast on that.
Yeah,
if you would like to share the idea. And thank you so much.
Thank you
for being part of this podcast.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Yes, live your dreams. That's the message we got from Humera ji. Thank you so much.